Hello everyone, I am Sushmethaa Muhundan and I am here to present our study titled Effects of Native and Secondary Language Processing on Emotional Drivers, Situation Awareness, Driving Performance and Subjective Perception. Let's get started by understanding the different components involved in this study. The first component is affect or emotions. Research shows that emotions can affect drivers' performance and can impact driving safety. To mitigate this, in-vehicle agents can be employed. Research shows that in-vehicle agents can promote safer driving behaviors, and agent interventions, when designed based on the emotions of the drivers, can actually improve driving performance. The last component of this study is language. Research shows that language can influence decision-making and human behavior during social interactions, and this is the component that we are going to explore with respect to the other components. Looking at the motivation for this study, research shows that various language theories, specifically related to native language, show that native language processing can be more efficient when compared to secondary language processing. But this key aspect with respect to driving has not been explored yet, and that is what this study aims to explore. This brings us to our research objectives. This study has two research objectives. The first one is to study how native and secondary language processing impact emotional drivers along three measures: situation awareness, driving performance, and subjective perception. The hypothesis is that along these three measures, native language agents are going to be more preferred when compared to the secondary language. We also want to study the impact of the presence and absence of the in-vehicle agent altogether, and the hypothesis is that the participants would prefer the presence of an in-vehicle agent as opposed to the absence of an in-vehicle agent. Looking at the equipment used for this study, a NerveTech driving simulator was used, and Milo, who is a humanoid robot, was used as the in-vehicle agent. This is the setup that was used for the study. Briefly looking at the procedure, we started with a simulator sickness test to ensure that the participants were comfortable with the simulator, and this was followed by an emotional questionnaire. Given that this study focuses on emotional drivers, we wanted to record how they felt at the onset of the experiment. This was followed by an emotion induction process where participants were asked to write about an incident related to anger in their past. And research has shown that this is a proven mechanism to induce anger in participants. After this, the emotional questionnaire was again presented to the participant to record how they felt at that point, and then the driving scenarios began. Each participant drove 3 laps of approximately 10 minutes each and experienced 3 different conditions: the no agent condition, the native agent condition, and the secondary agent condition. Situation awareness was measured along for each of these conditions, and under each condition, a negative arousal inducing events were faced by the drivers. This was done to ensure that the emotions remain heightened during the experiment. Post-round questionnaires were presented, which again included the emotional questionnaire, and we presented questionnaires validated in the human-robot interaction field, and here is an example of one such questionnaire. This was to gauge what they thought about the in-vehicle agent. Let's look at a sample scenario with one of the events that we talked about.
Watch out! The driver ahead of you is leading into some road.
Here we saw that the in-vehicle agent was warning the driver of an upcoming event so that the driver can better prepare themselves for the event. Moving on to the demographics information, a total of 24 participants were recruited, and Hindi and Chinese were taken as the native language. English was the secondary language for both these cases. 18 male and 6 female participants took part in this study, and they had about 4.5 years of driving experience on average. Looking at the results, let's start with situation awareness. There are 3 levels of situation awareness, and we recorded all 3 levels for each of those agent conditions. And it turns out that native language agent positively affected the higher levels of situation awareness as well as the mean situation awareness. Looking at driving performance, the first metric was response time, and response time was fastest in the native agent condition and slowest in the no agent condition. Looking at speed data from the driving simulator, we found that the maximum and average speed was lowest in the native agent condition, and the minimum speed was lowest in the no agent condition. Speed is often associated with the riskiness associated with driving, and lower speed is often associated with safer driving behaviors. Moving on to the agent characteristics questionnaires and their results, we found that drivers rated the native agent to be warmer and more likable than both the secondary agent and the no agent condition. Likewise, they also rated the native agent to be more intelligent and safer than the other 2 conditions. Looking at the anthropomorphism and animacy results, it's very interesting to note that in the presence of an agent, when the agent spoke in the native language, they rated the agent to be more anthropomorphic and more animate than when the same agent spoke in their secondary language, which was English. Having looked at the results, let's now revisit the research questions. The first question with respect to native and secondary language processing, the results showed that our hypothesis was correct, and it supported the first hypothesis along all 3 measures. With respect to the second research question of the presence and absence of in-vehicle agents, this was partially supported by the results. So while situation awareness results showed that the participants preferred the presence of an in-vehicle agent condition, it was partially supported for driving performance and was actually rejected for the subjective perception. So the participants did not actually prefer the presence of an in-vehicle agent over the absence. And let's look at why this was the case. Looking at the feedback we received after the experiment, for the native language, participants were very happy with when the agent spoke in the native language, and they felt more connected to the agent. And people did not mind the agent in the secondary language. But what is interesting to note is that depending on the emotional state or the mood of the driver during certain times, they preferred having no agent rather than having an agent with them. This explains why the second hypothesis was only partially supported. Moving on to discussions. Looking at language and cognition, we found that information processing was indeed faster in the native agent condition than the secondary agent condition, and this could be attributed to the fact that due to lifelong learning, we're more comfortable with our native language and we process information faster. And these results are aligned to previous research showing the importance of native language. We also got important design guidelines for in-vehicle agents through this study, where native language support can be beneficial and could be the default option given the preference of the drivers. To conclude, this study explored the influence of native language processing and the presence and absence of in-vehicle agents, and the importance of native language in the context of driving has been established. And with that, I would like to conclude. Thank you for your time, and in case you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me. Thank you.